The Percy Jackson series on Disney Plus recently wrapped up Season 2 with its 8th and final episode that came out on January 21, 2026. I went through every single episode from this season, and I have to say, this was a great adaptation to the Sea of Monsters book. I loved a lot of moments that we got in this new season, even if they changed up some parts of the book. Actually, they changed up so much that I managed to compile a list of the top 10 surprising book changes in Season 2. These would be changes that genuinely surprised me when watching the show, and I thought it would be fun to go through them. Before getting into the list though, spoiler warning for the Sea of Monsters book in Season 2. And with that, let's get into it. Number 10. The Laestrygonian Giants. We first see the Giants in the first episode of Season 2, and there, we see them attack Percy, Annabeth, and Tyson when they were on the way to Camp Half-Blood. However, this is a very different scene in the book. In the book version, the Giants were actually disguised as visitors from Detroit and Merriweather Prep, which is the school Percy and Tyson were going to. During a gym class, Percy and Tyson got confronted by giants, and that's where the fight happened. This was in school, while the show made it happen in the grounds near Camp Half-Blood. On top of this, the first episode made it clear that the Giants didn't attack them randomly like in the book. Instead, the Giants were actually a part of Luke Castellan's army of monsters, and they attacked Percy and the rest to create a distraction because Luke was actually poisoning Thalia's tree. This was honestly an insane change as well, because we never actually got to see Luke poison the tree in the book version. It was just implied to us in the early chapters of the book because Percy immediately suspected that Luke was behind it. And we later get confirmation of this through an iris message with Luke. There, Luke admitted that he was the one who poisoned the tree, but this scene was completely cut from the show. Number 9. Chris Rodriguez. Chris is a demigod son of Hermes, and we actually got some small moments of him in Season 1. There, he was played by Andrew Alvarez, and we see him once in a while with Luke because Chris and Luke are paternal half-brothers. Interestingly though, Chris got a random recast in Season 2 through actor Kevin Chacon. When Kevin got casted, fans like me didn't really know why the recast was needed, but until now, Disney or Rick never really released any details on it, so I guess that's just that. Going into Season 2 though, we didn't really know what to expect for Chris, mainly because he wasn't a big character in the Sea of Monsters book. The only thing we know for certain though is that Chris is part of Luke's army of demigods, and he was actually in the Princess Andromeda with Luke in the book. However, the show decided to make him have a bigger role. In Season 2, Episode 2, we see Chris in Camp Half-Blood, and he actually has some semi-romantic moments with Clarice LaRue. Clarice and Chris end up together by the end of the 5 books, and the showrunners seem to hint on this in Episode 2 by giving them more moments like this to provide more build-up to their romance. But this wasn't the case in the book. As I mentioned earlier, Chris actually turned on Camp Half-Blood and joined Kronos with Luke. So fans like me were wondering how they would handle this in the show, especially since Chris was still in Camp Half-Blood. But nothing could have prepared us for what happened in Episode 8. In this final episode, we see Chris turn on Clarice, and it's revealed that he was part of the spies Luke had in Camp Half-Blood. On top of that, Chris tries to take the fleas and kill Clarice, which must have been heartbreaking for Clarice, because we know in the books that she actually had a crush on Chris for a long time. So, in the show version, Clarice was even more hurt by his betrayal, because she actually witnessed it herself and even got hurt by him. It's a pretty cool added detail that I never expected, and that's why it's going here on the list. Number 8. Clarice's Dead Army. A pretty big part of the Sea of Monsters book is the army of dead Confederates who join Clarice in her quest to find the Golden Fleece. The book specifically called them the Dead Confederates, but as seen in Episode 3 of Season 2, they changed this up completely. Instead of just the Confederates, they included different soldiers from different time periods, and aside from this, they even deepened their dynamic with Clarice. In the book, the Dead Army didn't really seem that important. Instead, they were just clearly there for Clarice to use, but the show decided to tweak this up in a way that a lot of us didn't expect. We see Clarice go from a captain who couldn't command her crew to her standing up and motivating them to get glory. We even see Clarice feel responsibility for her crew to the point that she felt ashamed that she couldn't promise them Elysium in Episode 4 because some had to die to get past Scylla.
I promised them Elysium. If the quest succeeds, I told them that when they return to the underworld, it would be to the fields of Elysium.
Only the gods can decide that.
I was gonna ask Ares.
The show did an amazing job to form the connection and relationship Clarice lacked with her army in the book, and it's honestly one of the great changes I like from this new season. Number 7. Tantalus and Chiron. Tantalus is a new character we get in the show because he replaced Chiron as the camp activities coordinator. Tantalus was sentenced to Camp Haploid by Zeus, and he was honestly pretty book accurate. In both the book and the show, he was an insufferable person, but his fate was kind of different. In the last episode of Season 2, a fireball attacks and hits Tantalus immediately on the face. Not gonna lie, that was pretty hilarious, but at the same time, this never actually happened in the book. In the book, we just know that Tantalus was brought back to Tartarus to suffer for another eternity. But then again though, if Tantalus died somehow, he would have been brought to Tartarus as well. So in both mediums, he'll end up in the same place, so I guess it doesn't really matter much. As for Chiron, his character was pretty accurate, but he also made some slight changes, like how Chiron got his job back by the end of the series. The last episode didn't really explain this at all, so I'll just explain it here instead. So basically, Chiron got his job back after Percy and Annabeth got to record an iris message of Luke admitting to poisoning Thalia's tree. And this is enough evidence to prove that Chiron was innocent, and that's why Chiron got his job back. Number 6. Polyphemus' character. Polyphemus is an ancient Cyclops, and he was most known for his role in the Odyssey, or an epic Greek poem by Homer that follows a hero named Odysseus. In this story, Odysseus encounters Polyphemus, and in order to escape the place, Odysseus pretends to be nobody to trick Polyphemus, and this was successful. Odysseus even blinded Polyphemus, and that's why Polyphemus can't see well in the show. Aside from this, Polyphemus was known to be a dumb Cyclops, and he was pretty stupid in the Sea of Monsters book. However, the show decided to take a different approach to Polyphemus, and they actually made him pretty intelligent. We see this in episode 5 when Polyphemus manipulated both Grover and Clarice into thinking that he was dumb when he was the complete opposite. He lured Clarice using Grover's voice, then tied them both up so that he could eat them. We saw his intelligence again when he actually faked the golden fleece and hid the real one so that people would be lured into his trap, which Polyphemus from the book wouldn't have thought of. It's a very surprising change for book readers like me, but it's honestly one of the best changes in my opinion. Number 5. Circe. Circe is a sorceress, and you meet her on her island in episode 5 of the show. The island looks pretty book accurate to how I imagined it from the book, but they greatly changed her character. In the book version, Circe is an evil sorceress who loved power because she wanted control over others, and she hated men so much that she turned them into guinea pigs, which is exactly what happened to Percy. On the other hand though, this was not the Circe we met in episode 5. Instead, we see Circe as a kind of guru who wants to teach people to sail past the sirens, and she loves helping people to the point that her fatal flaw was empathy. The show even incorporated an interpretation about Circe's character by adding the detail that she would always help others even if they never gave anything in return. On top of all of these, Circe is apparently trapped on this island, and her selfish side shines through here because she gives these training programs to lure people into staying on the island.
And how they always leave you behind. Treat you like an obstacle they have to pass. I just remember what it was like to not have any friends. So I get why you want to keep people here.
By doing all of this, the show made her a more sympathetic character compared to how she was in the book. And surprisingly, they even added a post-credit scene for her. We see Circe still alive and in control of her island. This was completely different in the book, because we learned from the sisters Reina and Hyla Ramirez-Arellano that Blackbeard and his men had destroyed the place, so we're still unsure as to why she has a post-credit scene like this. This might imply that we might see Circe in the future seasons, but until now, we're still not sure. Number 4. The Cyclops Flashback. Episode 4 had major flashbacks that I really enjoyed seeing. We got to see the dynamic between Annabeth, Luke, and Thalia, and it was book accurate for the most part, until we got to the Cyclops flashback. In the show, we see Annabeth narrate how she got kidnapped by Cyclopses, and Thalia had to save her. Annabeth even points out that this moment made Thalia agree to take Grover's offer to go to Camp Haploid, because Thalia wanted Annabeth to be safe. Added to this, Annabeth reveals that she partly blames herself for what happened to Thalia, because if Annabeth hadn't been kidnapped, Thalia wouldn't have decided that they should go to Camp Haploid, and therefore, Thalia wouldn't have been turned into a pine tree. This was actually very different in the book. In the book, we learn that Luke, Annabeth, Thalia, and Grover were on the way to Camp Haploid when Grover accidentally took some wrong turns, and they ended up in a Cyclops lair. Thalia and Luke were the ones captured, and Annabeth was the one who had to save them. Annabeth also showed some immense bravery in the scene because she stabbed the Cyclops on the foot with her dagger even if she was just 7 years old. And this was enough distraction for the Cyclopses because Thalia managed to break free from her prison and save them all. In both mediums, they do have the same resolution of going to Camp Haplid, but at the same time, they were very different in context. Number 3. The Sirens. The Sirens are creatures that lure you to your death by showing your deepest desire, and we see them in episode 5 of season 2. In that episode, the premise pretty much stays the same, but they tweaked it up a lot, especially at the latter part. So let's go through the book version first. In the book, Percy and Annabeth came across the Sirens, and Annabeth actually wanted to get near them because she wanted to understand herself and be wiser. She made Percy tie her up to the boat so that she could listen to the Sirens, and Percy places wax in his ears so that he wouldn't be able to hear them. The plan was almost successful, but Annabeth got too caught up in the vision the Sirens gave her that she broke free from her bonds and swam to the creatures. As Percy tried to pull her back, he saw the vision the Sirens gave her. It was with her mother Athena, her father Frederick, and a Luke who didn't turn evil. They would be living in a city that Annabeth designed, and it reflected her fatal flaw of hubris or deadly pride. This is because Annabeth wants to make a perfect world, and she believes that she can eventually achieve this on her own. Eventually though, Percy managed to pull Annabeth into the water to get her away from the Sirens, and this actually worked. Percy made an oxygen bubble for the two of them since Annabeth couldn't breathe underwater. And since she couldn't hear the Sirens anymore, she snapped out of the vision and started to cry. She sobbed into Percy's shoulder, and this was a very sweet moment for the two of them. Now that's established though, let's head to the show version. The show had Percy and Annabeth face the Sirens as well, but this time, Percy was the one who was tied up, and Annabeth was free. In both mediums, Annabeth gets lured into the Sirens, but they showed a very, very different vision. In the show, Annabeth sees Grover, Luke, and Percy in quote-unquote neutral ground. This is because Annabeth believes that she can unite all sides, and this reflects her hubris greatly. She also seems to realize it's a vision, and she kills Vision, Percy, and Luke. After this, the vision seemed to be over because Annabeth saw the Sirens, and the last Siren was about to attack her when suddenly, Athena arrived and killed the Siren at the last second. Athena then looked down on Annabeth and offered her hand, which eventually turned out to be part of the vision trick this entire time. This was a vision inside of a vision, and Percy pulls Annabeth away at the last second. When the two of them fell into the water, book fans like me thought that they were finally going to show the long-awaited bubble scene. But this didn't happen. Percy and Annabeth fell into the water, and then suddenly, they're back at the boat talking. A lot of fans like me were disappointed about this because they cut off a pretty sweet Percivette moment, and until now, I really wish they added it. Although I like this version of the Sirens, I still can't believe they cut off the bubble scene. Number 2. The Battle at Camp Haplid. Show viewers would clearly remember the battle at Camp Haplid with Percy and the rest fighting against Luke's army of demigods. It's a pretty epic scene, but I bet non-readers would be shocked to hear that this actually never happened in the book. So let me explain. First off, the way episode 6 ended was very different if you compare the two mediums. In the show, we see Percy make the difficult decision of giving the fleece to Luke to save Annabeth, but this scene wasn't even possible in the book. In the book, Luke was not on Polyphemus' island, and Percy and the rest weren't trapped inside the cave. Instead, they actually fought Polyphemus actively, and they eventually managed to defeat him. They then leapt on Hippocampi like in the book, but all throughout, Annabeth was not kidnapped, though I had to know that she did get hurt by Polyphemus, and Percy did use the fleece to heal her. But that was really it. The chapter did not end as dramatically as episode 6, and now I'll explain how this part ended in the book. In the book, Percy and the gang rode in Hippocampi, and they eventually landed in a beach. Here, Percy realized that if he went to Camp Haplid with the fleece, he would be hailed a hero even if this was technically Clarice's quest. Because of this, he gave the fleece to Clarice, and it's a great moment between Percy and Clarice because this was probably the first nice thing Percy ever did for her. After Clarice left, Luke suddenly arrived, and he kidnapped Percy, Annabeth, Grover, and Tyson, and brought them to the Princess Andromeda. This is very different in the show though, because there, Percy, Tyson, Clarice, and Grover went to the Princess Andromeda to save Annabeth. But in the book, Annabeth didn't need saving from Luke. In fact, the fleece wasn't even with Percy and the rest, because Clarice already brought it to Camp Half-Blood. So this means that the entire scene of the fleece on Kronos, and then Percy and Luke fighting for the fleece, and then Percy getting stabbed by Luke, to Percy using the fleece to heal himself, did not happen at all. Instead, Percy and Luke had a sword fight that was so intense that Percy was almost dying, which is what they seem to include in this last battle with Luke and Percy. The fight was so intense that Percy started bleeding, and that's a reference to how intense it also was in the book. Overall though, the show did some major changes starting episode 6, and it led up to the battle we see in the show. The only battle we see in the book though was in the Princess Andromeda, where Luke and Percy fought to the death, and it ended with the party ponies arriving to save the day. And speaking of the party ponies, they also cut that out completely, so that's also a pretty big change. Number 1. Thalia's tree origin story. The biggest change we got this season was Thalia's story, specifically about how she got turned into a pine tree. And let's go over both the book version and the show version. In the book version, we know that Hades sent an army of monsters to attack Thalia to avenge his lover Maria D'Angelo, who was killed by Zeus. Thalia fought the monsters single-handedly to save Luke, Annabeth, and Grover, but this cost her life. As Thalia died surrounded by monsters, Zeus took pity on her and turned her into a pine tree so that her soul wouldn't go to Hades. This is an act of kindness on Zeus's part, but the show completely changed this. In the show, Hades sent the Furies to meet Thalia, but instead of trying to kill her, Thalia made the Furies send a message. The Furies told Thalia that Zeus wanted to use her as a weapon in the Great Prophecy, and this angered Thalia. As if on cue, Zeus himself appeared to her, and they had a heated argument. By the end of it, Thalia declared that she would never be used as his weapon in any war. And as she said so, Zeus got mad and then turned her into the pine tree she is today. In both mediums, Zeus turned Thalia into a pine tree, but they were in completely different tones. In the book, this moment was an act of kindness, while in the show, it was an act of cruelty. And those are all the surprising book changes we got in Season 2. So how about you? What do you think of these changes? Let me know in the comments down below.